A long-awaited report into the demise of MG Rover has accused bosses of misleading ministers while pocketing millions as the car giant collapsed. One director even tried covering his tracks by using a program called the Evidence Eliminator. The business secretary now wants them banned from ever managing a company again. But the Phoenix Four say they were the victims of a witch hunt. Live now to the Longbridge plant. Sky's Darren Little is there with the story. Darren.
Jeremy, it takes a lot to shock and surprise people in Longbridge when you talk about the Phoenix Four and MG Rover, but nevertheless there has been a feeling that that has been the case today as people saw in black and white exactly what those four directors did during their 5 years in charge here. And nevertheless, you have to remember that when they took over here in 2000, they were greeted as Rover's saviours. While large parts of Longbridge have been left to rot, investigators have been trying to get to the bottom of the complex finances of MG Rover's parent company. Their 800-page report is damning. The so-called Phoenix Four, John Towers, Peter Beale, John Edwards, Nick Stevenson and another Rover director, made £42 million during their 5 years in charge. But the report says they'd set a target of £65 million. The four men awarded themselves £9 million each in salaries and pensions. They're also expected to get another £3.2 million each from share schemes and dividends. The Workers' Pension Fund, meanwhile, ended up with a deficit of £470 million. MG Rover itself collapsed with debts of £1.3 billion. The anger among former workers is clear.
They brought this company for £10. You know, today they've got £9 million each. You know, I lost my job. You know, I couldn't afford my kids' uniforms. You know, I've got friends that have, ended up in hospital because they've had heart conditions and things like that. That's what I think of. That's what the Phoenix Four left.
From the start, the four transferred key assets like this castle out of the car company and into Phoenix. Ultimately, it meant MG Rover would struggle to make any money, something the Phoenix Four didn't have to worry about.
It says nothing new whatsoever about their remuneration. That was all accounted for at the time. It was in all the company accounts, all signed off by auditors and fully transparent.
But John Moulton, who nearly bought Rover himself, thinks the four could have made even more money.
There were a lot of efforts to find other ways of taking money out, and the report lays them out in detail. It's quite clear that had they got it all out, they would have probably taken something pushing 3 times the amount that's actually been taken out.
One of the Phoenix Four, Peter Beale, is criticised for misleading MPs. He also bought a computer program called Evidence Eliminator, which he used despite being aware that investigators would want to examine his computer. He says he only concealed personal documents.
Rather than claim that this report is some sort of whitewash or witch hunt, I think these directors really should show some humility. They should offer a hint of apology.
And while the four still live the high life, this is one of John Towers' homes, the workers are still waiting for money Phoenix set aside in a trust fund. Payment was delayed until the report was published. Now it's said the workers may have to wait a few more months before getting anything from their former bosses who themselves made so much.